No worries.
Yeah, not at all. Thank you for being here. All right. So it is 6:03 and we will officially call this meeting of the Westminster Inclusivity Board to order. Hello, everyone. Under the welcome, actually, you had said something and I wouldn't be against this, but maybe when we convene in January, maybe we could do a little, potluck buffet if people are interested in that.
We've talked
So,
about that before. That's
yeah.
not a bad idea.
Yeah, so if people want to share things and we can talk more about that online as we go. Hopefully everyone is doing well on this cold evening. We're going to move right into the old business. We have our first order of business, reviewing and approving the previous meeting minutes.
So move.
All right.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been motioned and seconded. Any discussion?
Very complete minutes.
As usual.
Okay. Hearing no discussion, we'll move forward to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Does anyone abstain? Okay, so moved. Thank you, Seth. Thank you all. Moving on to our next item of business, remaining budget decision, utility assistance fund or vouchers to benefit people experiencing homelessness. And I know Cody had put in some context for us here a little bit. These were the 2 points that we landed on so that we could spend the monies that we have this year. Obviously, those will not be as readily available next year beyond like maybe the proposal of a specific project or something that we could do. But Cody, do you want to give any kind of background to these bullets?
Sure. And Mayor Pro Tem, if you wouldn't mind jumping in if I go wrong with the council discussion.
Yeah.
Mayor Pro Tem presented it to City Council, the 2 options we had come up, supporting growing home and then homeless vouchers was one, and then utility assistance. They were all kind of together. And what the council preferred was that the Inclusivity Board decide between vouchers or utility assistance funds. So following that meeting, I reached out to the subject matter experts on both teams, and the homeless team is very well funded. So they think, so they included this blurb or this line about the utility assistance fund, that it actually is a helpful measure if we put the funds toward that, if the board puts the funds towards that, because what they say, 10% of the homeless people, the people experiencing homelessness in Westminster on the point in time count, said utilities were a contributing factor. So might be a little bit of, that was sort of the staff's background and urging of one direction or another where the funds are more needed. So
Ready, take their recommendation.
The only thing that I would share with you guys, because Cody and I didn't make that conversation last time. So Cody had kind of updated me about the conversation that you guys had. And what I really tried to urge my colleagues, because there were a handful, and it seemed like maybe at one point it was maybe going to go to the direction of everybody wanting to put it back in, maybe not everybody, but the majority wanting to put it back in the general fund. And one of the points that I made to the group was, hey, look, traditionally this group was given a budget to do the work that we've asked them to do. So my mind was, you guys are trying to do the work we asked you to do. So I really wanted to honor that. And so I think that that's when they came up with some different options that we were trying to find that were in the spirit of what I felt I was told that you were trying to accomplish. So hopefully I didn't miss the mark in what you were trying to accomplish. And, hopefully these are some measures that you guys feel help you do your work with that budget money that was allocated for you to do so.
Hey, thank you for that support.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, I think it aligns exactly to the spirit of what we were trying to do, which is be as, to leverage those monies in a way with the most need as possible or as a need so that it doesn't just get sapped back in the general fund. So thank you for that. Okay.
Do we need a motion to accept that recommendation?
Well, we have 2 recommendations kind of online. So I think we need to make a motion to recommend one and then we can discuss. So
Well, do we want to discuss first?
I think if we want to make a motion to accept one of these things and then
there we go.
discuss which one, we can move to discuss. So
The recommendation is to accept the vouchers.
I move that we spend the remaining board funds on one of these two things.
Great. That's the motion.
Oh,
Yeah.
we should discuss that.
Yes. Yeah. The two things in the bullet.
No, I know. I was saying that
Yeah,
you
yeah.
have to be specific.
Okay. No, just those two things.
So, okay, from the context thing, is the vouchers the same thing as Navigator budget is good?
Yeah, it's covered. Vouchers are part of the Navigator's budget.
Okay, okay, so it sounds like that one, so it sounds to me like that one is mostly covered and that the utility assistance fund is the one that we get the most bang for our buck. So that would be my inclination.
Correct.
And that's typically an ongoing issue
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Especially this time of year.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so we have a motion that you're accepting one of these two. Do we have a second? And then we can have further discussion.
So specifically, you're saying for utilities. That's what we're voting on.
Well, the motion is specifically one of these two things, and now we're gonna have a discussion to sort of decide which of the two. So,
Got it.
So we need to get a motion in to at least enter that onto the table. Thank you for providing context. So we're going to choose on one of these two things.
Well, I'll amend the initial motion and move that we use the remaining balance of our funds to supplement the utility assistance.
I agree with that.
Second,
I accept that as a second.
Okay, all right. So it's been seconded. Now we can discuss.
Yeah.
I mean,
I can,
Please.
just so nobody is surprised, this will require a council motion.
sure.
So just, and I don't mean the funds, it's different than like getting permission. They already gave you permission,
Right.
but they will have to transfer from the general fund to the utility fund where the
Okay.
expense actually is.
So we're making the recommendation.
Or to the water fund. Yeah, so you can make the recommendation, but just, I don't want anybody surprised when it comes up on
Yeah.
a future council agenda that
Okay.
there's a request to transfer the funds.
Thank you.
Cody, that was a good segue because I wondered if the city manager would be able to do those things in the future, given the recommendations on the election yesterday.
so did those pass?
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
All of it.
All of them
Yeah.
passed.
Yes, city manager.
Personnel though.
I don't know, because I'm not as familiar, but I bet you I could
They
figure
did.
it out.
They all.
Yeah, they all passed. I mean, I don't know the details enough to
It's-
figure it out.
It seemed to expand the budgetary onus of the city manager.
Yeah,
to be able to
definitely
do.
I don't know about
This is kind
transferring.
of an executive decision since the council already allocated the funding.
Yeah.
Mhm. Okay, so any more discussion on this before we move to a vote?
Yeah, I had some thoughts.
Yep.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes,
Yes.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So again, like kind of like how we worked with Kate, right? I just think it's an opportunity for us to build a relationship a little bit. Like, I just don't want to give the money and be like, okay, that was great. It went to a good place. Like, could we understand like the impact of where that funding could go, and then like kind of just maybe even understand if there's other things we can do with that organization that may not be funding, but maybe there's something else we could do in the future to help out, right? So I just want to think of it more as building a connection as opposed to just handing it out type thing. So is there any opportunities there that anybody can think of?
I think that's a lovely idea, Miguel. I think with the timing, I do believe we should outreach and we should do a lot of that. And I think this is an opportunity maybe for us to partner with, trying to learn more about our assistance funding, but also to your point, to do outreach around, what are Kate and the navigators needs around persons or people who are displaced in Westminster. I think really right now the essence of if we were to go back and try to figure things out, we would lose money because we are on a timeline of a fiscal.
Oh yeah, I don't mean it to.
Yeah,
sorry,
yeah.
I don't mean it to slow down the decision.
Oh, okay.
But I
Yeah.
mean it to like open, like to extend like a better relationship, like
Sure.
with that team that
Absolutely.
makes those decisions. Like, is there maybe there's other needs out there beyond just money? Where
Yes.
we could volunteer time or
Yeah.
even some ideas, stuff like that.
Can I ask, who is the person entity that administers the utility assistance fund? And how does it work?
The water fund is where the dollars come out. That's what, I'm sorry. So I will tell you that the utility fund, the water fund, all these things are a little bit further out of my realm of
Okay.
normal general fund life. So our water utility, Mayor Pro Tem, you're gonna have to correct all these things that I make up. But the utility fund is specifically for the utilities to operate the water utility, right? And there's a water fund with that has some financial support mechanisms like housing assistance and that sort of thing that are run by the county. But the city, because it's a city utility, has some support. So if somebody's water is shut off and there has some funding for that. Council increased the amount of funding for that, I think, in the previous budget year. So they have some, but they know that they always need more because there's greater need as we go forward. That team, previously the utility billing team, used to reside in finance. With the recent reorganization this summer, they now are part of the water resources team and public works and utilities to sort of keep them all in the same space.
So it sounds like the opportunity here is that we could try to connect with that water resources team and say, hey, we're interested in the water utility fund and, what we can do to help out with it and things like that. Okay.
I think, if I may interject, another opportunity is Growing Home. You've talked a lot about Growing Home. That's another partner that the city's great partners with. And I know many of you also do great work with them. So that could be an inclusivity board too. That covers many avenues of the work that this board is important to this board, right? So,
How are the recipients of the utility funds approved or chosen? Is it
I think they have
economic
10.
need
Mhm.
or?
There's an application.
Somebody's a water hog and says, I want some of this.
No,
That
It's
doesn't work.
an application.
Yes,
It's
well,
income-based.
Okay.
it's based on income.
Okay.
Yep, and need.
Okay.
So when we talk with the term utility, I'm thinking gas and electric.
We don't do gas.
That's what I'm saying. So if we say
It's the water
it's
utility.
only water,
Yeah.
can it also go then if we tag it on and have it going to Growing Homes because they can do? No?
The council did not want to give any more dollars to Growing Home because the council and the city give a significant amount of support,
Yeah.
monetary and otherwise, to Growing Home. So they preferred that the dollars be used elsewhere.
So it's only for water.
All right, I need to step back a little bit.
Yeah.
Express my ignorance. Person is behind in their utility bills. It'll probably be water, gas, and electric. Who do they go to for relief for,
Isn't that the LEAP program?
Mhm.
yes.
So there's another program that has utility assistance grants as
Okay.
well that help with electric specifically.
And that's called?
gas. LEAP is the acronym, and I forget what it stands
Look.
for. I apologize. I should know that off the top of my head.
And that's statewide, right?
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I would say those utilities likely have a program or other support. But
Okay.
because this city is a water supplier, it's one of our many responsibilities. This organization, not all cities have a water utility. We do. So,
And if I'm not mistaken, I think if you qualify for LEAP, I think that helps you with your application for the water
I
assistance
wouldn't be
as well.
surprised. Yeah.
Because it already
I think-
establishes.
I think
go
that
ahead.
in the past, we did do something to basically make that easier for folks to do that and kind of match it up because it made sense if you're already pre-qualified for LEAP and it's low income energy assistance program is
you.
what it stands for. I cheated though. I Googled, but we did do something in the past, if I remember right, to be able to make it easier for folks to be able to get it with the thought that if you're already in that program, obviously you qualify for that because you have to go through a qualification program. And, in my time, I most counselors have wanted to try to remove those barriers for those kind of things. And I know specifically with the assistance program, as we've went through, just the water rate discussion, I know that specifically Councilor Nermella has been a real big champion of how are we addressing this portion of that for the folks that are hit the hardest with the rate discussion. And I don't disagree with, her tact in wanting to make sure we keep an eye on that. So I think that's why, if I remember correctly, I'm pretty sure that it was Counselor Numella that floated that idea back up to the top while we were discussing, what would help you guys do this work.
And I wanted to make a point. Madison had said too that for electric, the EOC also is a support system.
She also asked if there was a cap, and I don't know if there's a cap for any of those programs.
Yeah. Alan.
So just for clarification, Mayor Pro Tem or Cody, for how many people have actually used the water utility needed assistance? I mean, like in a year? I mean, is it fairly common?
I don't recall that off the top of my head, to be honest with you, Alan. I believe that's been asked in the past of council, but I just don't remember what that is. I'd have to research that in order to tell you that. Maybe Cody has that I'm sure Cody's the one who had to provide that information to us when we asked, but I
Yeah,
know
I'll
it's
have to
been
go
asked.
look
I
for
just
it.
don't remember.
Yeah, I definitely don't have it at the top.
I seem to recall that there was at one point a report.
Yeah, and certainly the numbers have increased.
Yes.
over
Just-
the last-
So, okay, that's what I wanted to hear.
Yeah.
that
They've definitely increased,
so
especially
there's
during
a
the
need.
pandemic, and even holding steady, if not still increasing.
And if I remember the last time we discussed it, I'm pretty sure that it's not like, I'm pretty sure that the utility assistance fund is sort of regularly tapped out, it's not overfunded. So,
Right.
That is correct.
And
It's
that
not
was the other
overfunded.
line of questioning, that this would help supplement and provide direct support to
Donna
more
just got
persons. So,
Okay,
Oh, Donna, there we go.
We ready to call the question?
yeah, I think we can call the
There
question.
we
So
go.
we have a
We should-
motion.
we should recap it for Donna.
Yeah.
Donna is just getting on right now.
Oh, great.
So we have a motion that we've just been discussing, which is now in the form that the board recommend to council that the remaining inclusivity board funds be transferred to the utility assistance fund. I guess maybe the city's utility assistance fund, just to be clear. So that is the motion.
Donna, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Okay, perfect.
Oh, and Miguel somehow got kicked out. Sorry, Miguel.
Oh, oops.
He's back.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion on the table. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing no point of discussion, all in favor of the recommendation?
I
Is there anyone opposed?
Aye.
Okay, Miguel, thank you. And does anyone abstain?
I'm going to abstain because I did not hear the discussion on it, so I will abstain.
Thank you, Donna. Okay, all right. Thank you very much, all. Moving into our report with Mayor Pro Tem Demott.
First, it's good to be with you guys. Sorry I couldn't make it in person. I thought I was going to make it in person, and I had to take my son for a haircut. And by the time I got him home, it was time to hop on. So I just decided to hop on from here. So appreciate your guys' time. I'm trying to think. Obviously, the budget got passed recently. I don't remember, though, if we've met since that happened. Maybe not, since that was formally adopted. We council majority approved the retention of the city manager, city attorney, and the city municipal judge. So those contracts all got renewed over the last month. We did and I just thought this was a useful exercise. The city manager, Mark Freitag, wanted to do kind of a SWOT analysis of our process we used for the budget retreat and just the budget process in general. And so we did that. That was the last meeting that we had. It was a study session where we kind of whiteboarded, what worked, what didn't work from everybody's perspective, so that we could try to make that process more efficient next year. And so I thought that was good. Obviously, I'm sure you're all aware, of being civically minded folks, that there was an election this week. And so last I saw, it looked like Christine Ireland is currently the top vote getter. Claire, and I don't want to butcher her last name since I'll be working with her, she is the second vote getter. And then right now, Amber Hott is looking at, it looks like last I saw, it was very, very tight. So it looked like she was ahead 12 votes. I don't know how many votes are still out there for them to count. But so it does look like I will be working with Amber Hot as well. And then, but what I read, the city just posted this. I read it on my way down to my office tonight, that there's some automatic recount when it's within a certain percentage. So I don't know, again, there could be ballots out there that make us go beyond that percentage. So I don't know. We'll see how that goes. And if you watch the last couple elections, we've kind of seen some shifting in that last spot in the last couple of elections. So those last day, votes do make a difference. So
Mayor
I
Pro
saw
Tem,
Jefferson-
there's an update. I think if you refresh your browser, you might see that post has been taken down. The most recent vote count from Adams County put Amber Hot 109 votes ahead of Councilor Baker.
Okay.
And so that will not.
So that would take that
will
above
not.
the threshold.
Right. So, and
Okay.
like you said, though, that can still change. It's still close enough that it can change. We've been watching it change since about 24 hours now. We've been watching it change. So,
Yeah, and I think
yeah, you're not wrong about that, but it does change.
And I think part of that is a lot of times if people drop ballots into the wrong county ballot box, it takes time for them to get to the correct county. And so there's some of that juggling that happens, and then just making sure that they collect from each of the collection points. So, we'll stay tuned to that. Obviously, it's important to know who's going to represent you all over the next 4 years that won those seats. So, we obviously, I thank Councilor Seymour for his service, and Councilor Emmons and Baker. This isn't an easy job for anybody, no matter where you sit on the issue. So, but it does look like at this point that we'll have 3 brand new faces on council, and maybe not totally brand new faces, because I know Amber definitely has been around. I remember she actually, was part of a lot of different processes trying to be able to serve the city over my tenure. So, I've reached out to, I think I've actually reached out to everybody. I haven't got to talk to everybody yet, but certainly offer my assistance in any way I can to make them successful in their job serving you all, because to me, we all either succeed together or we don't. So I want to make sure that they have a soft landing into what is a big job, and they're going to be drinking from a fire hose for the next couple months. So certainly wish them well and want to make them successful as they venture to serve you all. So it is a little bit different this cycle, because if you remember in 21, we made some charter cleanups that did make it so that we matched up with really what is state law to make sure that the elections are being certified before we seat people. We were seating people and it wasn't necessarily certified yet. Because of the way it read in our charter, we actually had to seat people at that next meeting. So I think that it's the first, correct me if I'm wrong, Cody, I think it's the first meeting in December where they actually get seated. So this current council will have one more meeting in November, I think, and then we'll have our final meeting, that first meeting in December, and that will so you'll have a meeting of the current council, that it'll be their very final meeting, and then you'll have a meeting of the new council, which is basically them getting sworn in. So that is kind of our path forward. I will tell you that it looked like all of the charter amendments passed, including the question around wards. And so I can't tell you exactly what that's going to look like moving forward. The question was, should we do this in this time period? So there's going to be some sort of formation of a task force or a committee, that I hope is very diverse and has some good community leaders, as well as some probably staff members and maybe people from other organizations that really understand what we have to accomplish when it comes to drawing boundaries to make sure we meet state law. So that there's still work that has to be done there. And once, we come up with the structure, or, whoever that body is comes up with the structure they think works for our community, it would have to go back out to the voters to actually change all the portions of the charter that touch, how we elect our officials in Westminster, which is why it really, in my mind, I definitely advocated that was the right way to do it, because there's so many different ways you could do it. And in my mind, some are harmful, some are good, and everybody's going to have their view of it. But it also touches so many parts of the charter that you want to make sure that whatever we put forward is well thought out and that can be implemented very seamlessly, because that is going to be a change for our community. If whatever structure they come up with passes when it gets in front of the voters. So that's a pretty big deal. I mean, our city's been around a long time, and so to change to that structure is going to be a change for the community. So trying to think if there's any other big things that I would want to mention to you all. I will mention this because I know that a lot of you have worked with her in one fashion or another. I was very pleased that the city council agreed to do a proclamation honoring Michelle Haney at our last meeting. I've worked at Red Rocks Community College for Michelle as an adjunct for I think a little bit over a decade now. She served as a city council person with me, and so Michelle is a great human, and she keeps asking me what things we have for her to do. I'm like, well, it sounds like she maybe doesn't want to do anything in education, if you could imagine that, as much as that's her passion. She spent, as many years as she has in that. But I wanted to mention that to you, some of you folks, in case you didn't see that, because I know she has friends in this group, and a lot of you were around when she was on council. So I think that's all the things that I wanted to kind of touch on. Obviously, we've got work ahead of us, and we'll see where things go. And I think everybody that I've talked to so far, and I think this of all people who run for these offices, well, not all people, I would say the majority of people want what's best for the whole community. And and that's my hope for us moving forward, is that we can work as a collaborative group and do good things for the city.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Any comments, thoughts, or questions? One of the things, I guess, I know that when new council members are onboarded, typically you all look at your committee pieces and sort of like the ambassador aspects. So that could change some things with that as well, correct?
It could, and it definitely will. And I mean, some of that it gets around with time constraints of each of us. I've seen it done different ways. A lot of times, those of us who have a little bit more tenure get to utilize that in order to pick, and we kind of try to, the way that we have done it most of the time is kind of round robin. And so you get to kind of pick the ones, so as I think in my time, I know Councilor Scully for a really long time was your guys' liaison. And so I don't know exactly what will happen with that, but that will be part of the process as we onboard the new council members. Obviously, some of them are going to have to change because they were seated with council members who are no longer going to be with us. So, and I know like Councilor Seymour he has quite a few pretty busy ones, like Parks, Rec, and Library. They meet monthly. He was doing SPL, which I used to do, which is special permits and licensing. That one meets pretty regularly, twice a month. That's definitely one that, there's some commitment to. So, we'll kind of measure up what people's passions are, as well as what their schedules are, and make sure that we don't have any gaps when it comes to our liaison positions. But you are right. We will be doing that as we kind of go into the next phases of bringing the new council members on.
Thank you. All right. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Yep.
Yes, moving on to, we didn't have any items for new business. That's correct. So I know we don't have really subcommittee reports at this time. So I guess we'll move into sort of what's happening in the community, or things that maybe
we move back to new business real quick?
We can.
If that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just because, since we did have all of the ballot questions pass, we know we are going to award system.
I think this community still votes on whether or not they want that.
Yeah.
We're not going to it. The
Okay.
ballot initiative was to explore it and
Yes.
propose one.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's by 2026.
Yes.
So say if it happens in 2025 would be when it hit the ballot,
Right.
then the community would have a chance to vote on, yes, they want to go that way, or no, they don't.
Okay, all right. The wording on that one wasn't clear on me, that it was going to do that.
That's my understanding. Is that correct?
That's how I read it.
That's how I read it.
So,
I
yeah.
was looking at that guy. That's fine.
Yeah, no.
You
I just wanna make sure.
are correct in that, and part of that was, again, because
So it's
there's
just an
just so much to
exploration.
think through
Yep.
it, and then say, okay, if this is the structure we're going to do, what all parts of the charter does that touch? And once we actually had a real serious conversation about it, there was no way that even if somebody said, here's one we all agree on, to find all the parts, because one of the council members did bring forward something from actually that was written by one of the new council members that they thought was a good structure, but we didn't feel that we had, well, and actually our staff, including our city attorney, said, that's a lot of work. There's no way that that's going to get done in time and be done appropriately.
Okay, so it's an exploration, but an exploration that is going to result in proposals or just in a question to the public of whether or not to go to wards.
The way I read it was there'd be a proposal.
Right, okay, so my line of questioning still stands, which is how can we raise to council, how this particular board can be of service in those explorations, because this is something that I would think would be very much in our wheelhouse, to ensure that any sort of development or districting would be, and I'm sure that there are people who know how to do the districting. I mean, I'm not saying that they can't, but I would imagine that this might be something that we could provide some advice on.
I do want to go to a point of order, because this wasn't an item that was proposed for new business. I think we're still under discussion with Mayor Pro Tem Demont. So I think we can just.
Oh, I am so sorry. I
No,
didn't
no,
even
you're
know.
fine.
I thought we were done.
No,
Oh,
you're fine.
But I also think he might have the answer. for
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
I could,
okay.
Yeah, no worries.
I mean, what I would say, Michelle, is I'm going to bring that point back, because certainly I am in the same boat now that we know that, hey, we need to do this. What's that look like? And so for me, I think around when you talk about districting, and this is one of the things that we talked pretty heavily about when we had the conversation, is there are actually rules and regulations that are dictated by state law that say this is how you have to do it, because it's really about population size.
Mhm.
And so say if you were going to do 4 wards, okay, we agree we're going to split into 4 wards, then there actually has to be calculations about how you fit 4 wards with the right size of population in each of those wards. And I do think that, where we want to make sure that we're not giving people proper voices, making sure that you have the right amount of wards to split the population. So, I mean, I think that's where the conversation piece is really how many wards, and then there's the calculation, if I understand it right, would dictate it. So, but point being, because we're not going to solve that tonight, is I'm definitely going to bring that back to them. And I appreciate you bringing it up. I already kind of have that in my mind too. And, beyond just the districting part, how is council going to comprise that committee to make sure that we have the right amount of voices and that are inclusive of the whole city? And so I think, our boards, to me, is definitely a place where we should at least have a sampling from each of these different boards who understand how our city work. And, you guys are folks, and the other boards are folks who are dedicated to the city. So, I'm going to put that out there, that certainly you guys are interested in how you can play a part, and bring kind of what you're after to the city. And if I've missed the mark at all, please let me know now so that I bring back the right thing. But I think that's a very valid point, and I certainly share, kind of what you're going after. Like, how are we doing this?
Mayor Pro Tem, if I recall correctly, council also talked about potentially having their first ad hoc committee or task force in 2024, and this might be an opportunity to do that, where it would be sort of a group of folks to work on an issue in the way of how we look at our board and commission structure, that these ad hoc groups might be a possibility.
Perfect.
Was that right?
Yeah. Donna has her hand up. Donna, please.
Yes, I just want to say thank you, Michelle, for your comments with regard to that. I think that's very important. I've been a part of other places where those changes were made, and the right combination of input was not always included. And then I applaud you, Mayor Pro Tem, for being willing to listen and take that back, because I think that is where it should come. I would just further encourage you, as they put together this subcommittee that's being mentioned or whatever, that perhaps maybe some members of some of the boards and groups be, citizen members be included in that. If you can encourage that among your fellow council members, because I think that's really important. Oftentimes, we as the citizens are not, well, it's not that we're not included, but just sometimes it's easier not to because of all the things that go through it. But anyway, I applaud both of you for that position. And I think this is a position that this board should be taking, and it makes me proud to be a part of it.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Donna. I agree. I think there's a lot to be said about people and persons representing the communities in which they live, so that we don't have food deserts that we still have to address and things of that nature. So I appreciate that. Yeah. So Michelle, thank you.
So I apologize for.
No, you don't have to apologize. No, you don't. You're absolutely welcome. I just wanted to make sure it was on the point of order. If you want to have this as a standing new business item, we could certainly look at that as things unfold.
Just, yeah, something for us to track at least. Yeah.
Yeah, but definitely asking Mayor Pro Tem Demott is absolutely, that's within the realm. I just wanted to make sure that we were clear on the point of order. So, yeah, great.
I have a new business item to propose.
Okay.
Which is that given that it's November and we're skipping December.
Yeah.
Is there anything, and we currently don't have anything there, is there anything we want to tee up for being on the agenda in January once we get back together?
Mm-hmm.
Well, so you want a crystal ball?
What you're talking about.
I'm saying,
Yeah, it'll be on there.
is there anything that we should remember that, we wanted to talk about this starting next year? I never remember things like that.
Yeah, no, I think that can sit on there for sure.
The same way.
Yeah, we can make this a
Yeah.
standing item.
Maybe don't send the minutes out so fast, Seth.
Sorry.
Oh, please do, Seth. My sanity, please do. I might just want to throw out there, the new council, like Mayor Pro Tem said, will be seated. I think it's December 4th is the date they'll be sworn in. That's a lot in the beginning for them. If depending on how many new counselors are, I mean, we're at least 2 right now, possibly 3. That's a shift. So a lot of things may not be as clear right out the gate. Remember what it's like every time we have a transition like this. So issues that are ongoing or consistently something we talk about here would be the things to put on the list. Tonight I heard growing home and utility assistance fund, how the board might better assist those groups. We could, that can certainly go on there, and that's a reasonable thing, I think, to be thinking about that far out. I'd hate for us to have a council, they only will meet, they'll have 2 meetings before your next meeting, the new council.
Well, and to that point, maybe doing some outreach to our new council members could be a point of order that we bring in January.
Yeah, how long has it typically taken us after a new council is seated before we end up meeting with them? I always forget.
It's
a couple of months?
Yeah, usually within, because I think to Cody's point, they're trying to figure all their scheduling out.
Out of a fire.
Yeah, they're on,
let's be
exactly.
honest.
Yeah. But I think we've been able to at least do some outreach. I think, we've had them come to us at times. We had a really successful meeting, I think, years ago when we did that. And I know Mayor Pro Tem, you were part of that, and that was pre-pandemic times. And then, of course, in pandemic times, we've done individual outreach, as we could. And so I think that could be a point that we discuss and talk about.
So as the person who does their onboarding schedule, you're at least March.
Yeah.
I would say that's the soonest, like January and February is real full. If my onboarding schedule works out.
Yeah. Wiser to say, geez, let's shoot for April.
Yeah, probably. I'm just saying, don't lose it off the agenda, but don't be surprised if it's warm again before it happens.
So in terms of non-council people, often we have people come and talk to us and it's been a while since we talked to so-and-so. It'd be nice to talk to them again. Do we have any
Who
of
do you
those
wanna
people?
talk to?
I don't know.
How about housing needs assessment? That,
Oh.
that's finished at the end of this year. By December, the end of December, Mayor Pro Tem, you have to, again, counter if I'm lying. So maybe we could ask if they wanted to come in, I would say February, because I don't know if council will even have a conversation with them before. I don't know when that's going to council. If the study finishes at the end of the year, then it probably will go to council in January. So that might be a February topic.
This would be something from the planning staff?
The economic development team.
Economic
does the
development,
Housing
okay.
needs assessment. It's similar to the group that you sat on, the housing needs. That was a work group in like 20.
It was
Yeah.
a task force.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it would be, this is an assessment that's run by an outside consultant, but those results are supposed to be here by the end of the year. So that might be an interesting topic.
Absolutely.
We'd love to hear about that.